Balagha, also known as eloquence, some people call it rhetoric, different thing. Let me give you an example so you can understand what Balagha is about. Balagha is basically when you've studied the Arabic grammar, whether it's the syntax part, nahwa, or whether it's the morphology sort of part. In there, you just basically learn the basic rules. In Balagha, what you do is now you start asking questions. Why is this rule? So we know, for example, there's the X rule, this is the subject, this is the object, this is the maf'ul mutlaq. But in Balagha, you start asking more questions. What's the benefit when we have this structure? What benefit does this structure bring? So for example, let me give you one simple example here, one Quranic verse to understand. We have here, وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبَتِيلًا. So when you start studying, first of all, sarf. Okay, let's start from nahwa. When you start nahwa, you would say, well, waw is a harf al-isti'naf, tabattal is a verb, ilayhi, you can call it the indirect object, you can call it maf'ul bihi ghaysari as we call it, some people call it muta'alliq, well, most people call it muta'alliq, whatever you call it, we'll do that. This becomes one particular. Then we have tabatilan, you will say it's maf'ul mutlaq, it's a masdar of a verb, maf'ul mutlaq min ghayri lafzihi. And this is what we study in basic grammar. Then you go to sarf. And the basic sarf, you say tabattal is the imperative form, is the amr from mukhatab, is bab tafa'ul, and tabtilan is the masdar or the root, the gerund from the bab taf'il. And that's it, you done. When you start studying sarf a bit more, you will study here, you say, well, bab tafa'ul, the meaning of bab tafa'ul, the ma'an al-afal, also known as we call urdu khasiyatul abwab, is takalluf and tadrij. And bab taf'il is was taqtir fil fi'li, fil fa'ili, aw il maf'ul bihi, all these possibilities. You will start studying this. So you will say here, okay, this is what we've done. In Balagha, you're asking a question. That وَتَبَتَّل is a verb. It's bab tafa'ul. Tabtil is a maf'ul mutlaq. So it's a maf'ul mutlaq. So therefore, why is not tabattal ilay tabattulan? Why is two verbs being used? So in Balagha, it's a form of ijaz. Why is it a form of ijaz? By instead of having two separate sentences, two separate verbs, we bring the meaning of bab tafa'ul, the meaning of bab taf'il, you merge them together. So what does it kind of show? It shows a meaning of what? That is tabattul that Allah is requiring from the Prophet ﷺ. It shows what? That ibtida'an is takalluf, ibtida'an is tadrij, wa intiha'an is takthir. I'm not going to explain all of that. You may not understand it right now. I'm not supposed to explain to you. Just basically so you understand that there's different levels. And Balagha is now so nahwa is basically understanding the structure. Sarf is understanding each word, and Balagha is asking why. Another example of the Balagha applying is, you see, for example, we have a verse here, وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثْلًا أَصْحَابَ الْقَرْيَةِ. And then in these set of verses, we see two words or two sentences very, very similar. We have here, إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ مُرْسَلُونَ فَقَالُوا, in one verse, فَقَالُوا, they said, إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ مُرْسَلُونَ. They said, we are messengers. And later on in the next verse we have inna ilaykum lamursalun. There's an extra letter lam, and there's also after qad another statement. So here we have inna ilaykum mursalun. You have one form of emphasis. In this verse you have rabbuna ya'lam. Then we have inna ilaykum lamursalun. So when you're doing balagha, you say, well, we know these structures. We can analyze all of them in terms of we know the sarf. Mursal is the ism al-maf'ul, etc., etc. Here ya'lam is the fa'il al-qalb, etc., etc. We know all of these things. In Balagha, the question we ask, why is it happening like this? What's the reason behind the change of structure? Mutabaqatul kalam li muqtada al-hal. Why is the kalam changing in different scenarios? And these kinds of intricacies, these types of subtle changes, this is what is represented, understood and studied in Balagha, how the kalam changes, what do you add, what do you subtract, what small differences in structures, how they affect and how they match the particular of the speech. So this is two examples. There's much more to it. You have ilm al-ma'ani, ilm al-badi, ilm al-bayan, all of these things, but there's a simple understanding, a simple introduction so you can understand, okay, what you're going to be studying in this subject.